And here we go, everybody. Let's try this next one out. So the question sentence, as always, is what we want to point out first. And it says right here, after cutting pieces totaling 96 feet, how many yards remain on the bolt? Okay, so let's highlight that right there. That's the question sentence. How many yards remain on the bolt? Everybody, really quick, what's that one word right there? The word remain. What might that indicate that we might be looking to do? Subtraction, exactly. We're potentially looking to subtract if we're looking for how much of some amount of some object remains. So again, these are the key words that you want to pay attention to. How many of something remains? Okay, cool. We might think about subtracting. Then, everybody, what unit is our answer required to be in? What unit did the problem, question, sentence say? Do the answer choices say? Yeah, they all say yards, yards. We need the answer in yards. Absolutely. So before we do any math at all, this is for those of us that are anxious about word problems. Before we did any math at all, notice that we understood we've got to subtract and we need our final answer in yards. Let's check out the information and let's make some moves. So over here it says a bolt of fabric is 54 yards long. After cutting the pieces totaling 96 feet, how much fabric remains? So, okay, if I'm thinking about this intuitively, we're thinking, okay, we have this much fabric at the beginning, 54 yards. Make sure you have the right units. And then we cut the pieces that total 96 feet. Everybody, what operation? One more time. You know I'm forgetful. What operation again are we doing with that 96? Yeah, we're subtracting it from the fabric. And then I already know some of us are already thinking, well, coach, before we can even subtract, we got a little bit of a problem, right? Because if you're going to be subtracting, the units need to be consistent. You can't just subtract 54 yards with 96 feet. These are two different units. The answer that you get will not make sense. So we have to convert. So let's mark that right over here. Let's convert. Now, everybody, the choice that we're going to make here is we're going to convert the feet to yards for the sole reason being that the final answer, check it out, the final answer is going to be in yards. So because we know that, this is already good to go. The units for the fabric, that's fine. This needs to be converted. So to start the conversion, first we need to know if we're going to multiply or divide. And to do that, we're going to list that conversion rate. Everybody, is this correct here? 1 yard equals 3 feet. Right on. So 1 yard does indeed equal 3 feet. And now from there, everybody, we're going to ask ourselves, are we going to multiply or divide? Well, we're going to the unit that has the 1. We're trying to get to that unit that has the 1. And so whenever we're trying to get to that unit with the 1, from feet to yards, from 3 to 1, we are going to divide by 3. So let's do it. Everybody help me out. What is 96 divided by 3 to convert? Let's convert that. 96 divided by 3 is what? 32. That is correct. 32. So now we have 32 yards. Now this is good. Let's just bring this down 54 yards. Now we're good. Everybody, what's 54 yards minus 32 yards? What's that going to be? What's the remainder going to be? Yeah, 22 yards. And booyah, we're all good. We should be feeling pretty good. The final correct answer here, 22 yards, which is represented by answer choice D. And there we go. All right, next question up. We're going to start off with that question sentence as always, no matter what time of day it is. So we're looking here and it says, how far is the kayaker from the starting point? Okay, so I want to know how far this kayaker is, but there's a relative point here, and it's the point at which we start. So when we read what's going on, it says that this kayaker paddles downstream at this rate and for this time, and then turns around and paddles upstream at this rate and that time. So before I even get into the numbers, before I start calculating, I clearly understood that if this is my starting point, I clearly understood that for a portion, we go downstream at a rate of 11 miles per hour for 6 hours. And I know my distance, rate, and time. I know that I'm going to go ahead and multiply my rate and time together to get that distance. And so everyone, what is 11 multiplied by 6? What's that going to give us? Yeah, simply put, 11 times 6, that gives us 66. So that is 66 miles specifically downstream. Now I'm going to cover that in blue. So let's just go ahead and highlight that nice and easy. And then in purple over here, turns around and paddles upstream at 7 miles per hour for 4 hours. All right, perfect. So when we go back upstream, I'm just going to say like, hey, this is where we end up at. And now we'll go upstream. And that's going to be a rate of 7 miles per hour for 4 hours. Help me out again, everybody. What is 7 multiplied by 4? Toughest question of the day. That's going to be 28 miles. Sounds good. So as long as we understood that if we're trying to see how far we are from the starting point and we went downstream and then upstream, if you understood that part of the story, you might also understand that taking the 66 miles that we went downstream and subtracting or cutting out the distance that we came back upstream for, that will give us how far we are from the starting point, from here to here. That's what we're trying to find. From where we start to where we end, that's the distance we're trying to find. And that's going to be found by doing 66 minus 28. We'll have to do a little bit of borrowing, and that's okay. So 16 minus 8 is 8. 5 minus 2 is 3. But nonetheless, the final resting point after we come back upstream for the 4 hours is going to be 38 miles. And there we are. Boom. All good. It's again about understanding downstream versus upstream, where we count the relative distance. All right, so let's move forward here with our first question of the day. We always want to begin, per usual, with the question sentence. So we see here that it says, what is the area of the pool? And just like in the previous class or the previous times that we've talked about this, the moment that you see one of those hyper-specific geometry words, like area in this case, we always want to ask ourselves, well, what shape? Because remember, depending on the shape, the formula for the area might be different. So with that said, everybody, in the chat box, what is the shape that we're dealing with? We know that we're dealing with, yep, right there, a rectangle. So we know that we're dealing with the area of a rectangle. So before I even continue, I'm going to remind myself, that I want area. And I know that the area of a rectangle is going to be length times width. And I'll just have that written down because guess what? If I want the area of this rectangle, it really, really looks like all I need is the length and the width. If that's given to me, great. If not, I'll have to figure out what to do. So it says that the swimming pool is 20 meters long, 8 meters wide. So with that said, nice and easy, the length is going to be 20 and the width is going to be 8. So we have that together. So the area is going to be 20 multiplied by 8. 20 times 8 is going to land on 160, but that's not what I care about. Let's go ahead and remind ourselves what the units are going to be for this solution. What are the units going to be? Yeah, they're going to be meters squared. So you can say m squared or meters squared. Either way, it means square meters, so you're good. But there we are. There we go. And we are all set. The correct answer for the first question is B, 160. So feels like a pretty straightforward question, but let's go ahead and turn our attention over to trying another one out. So here we go, my party people. Let's keep it going.